What's going on? Welcome to Q&A in the FCF Cave.
You sound out of breath, Pastor Pete.
Yes, it has been a fantastic, busy morning already. Pastor Rain and I were on the radio this morning, WFMD with Ryan, and then drove over here working on Christmas stuff.
And lack of sleep last night.
Lack of sleep. I got a full 30 minutes.
Woo.
And then working on lighting stuff with the amazing Brian Tedder. And now I ran as fast as I could from that building to this building.
In the snow.
In the snow. And then got into this building and realized that I had left my cell phone. And as I was running back to the building, I realized that I, in fact, had dropped my cell phone on the path between the two buildings. So it's wet, but otherwise appears unscathed.
We got this Christmas card.
It's very kind for Pastor Randy to join us for
card.
Q&A because we're live right
card.
now.
Well, yes, and a letter.
Oh, I wasn't sure if you make sure you knew.
And a letter in it, and it's kind of part of it addressed to you. But it also had a check, a rather large check. But I just assumed you would want to give it to
I would give it to you. I give it to you.
Oh, okay.
To you.
Good.
Okay.
I'm glad I put that in the right place.
We're already live, boss. You know that, right?
I'm waiting on hot coffee, but tell him I'll be back.
Look, he's busy. He's got stuff he has to do. So, Pastor Kim. What are you excited about?
I am super excited about Christmas Eve services, without a doubt. So it's going to be
2 services, 2 and 4. Come early. Plan to get good seats.
Someone said they could not find, like we've had a lot of people calling saying, when are your Christmas Eve services? And even church people. I'm like, we've been saying it for a month. And
it's on the website?
It's smack on our website. Someone said, I was trying to find and I couldn't. And I'm like, it's right on the landing page of the website.
Let me make sure.
Let's
see. Calvary. Nope. FCF. Okay, I haven't done that. Could you tell that I haven't got any sleep? I haven't done that. No. I don't think I've ever done that. Only twice. And there it is.
There
in
it
fact,
is. Right there.
Christmas Eve services, 2 and 4 p.m. But you do not want to show up at 2 p.m.
No.
If you show up at 2 p.m., you will get into service from getting parked, getting everything situated, and then getting in to find a seat. You will miss the beginning of service, which, trust me, you're not going to want to miss.
And it will be hard to find a seat.
No, it'll be challenging.
I worked exceedingly hard on that tap dance number.
And
we
got
people
it down.
to miss that, I would be hurt.
Yeah.
You better be there. He was
people haven't seen this side of me.
Mm-hmm.
That
tap dancing.
A tap dance.
Tap dancing.
Well, it's not just tap dancing, but then you go into your singing number. Jessica's been working with him for.
Yeah.
But you weren't supposed to let that come out.
Man, I ruined the surprise. So plan to join us.
And I'm riding my unicycle. That's why I'm so excited about it.
Wow.
That's how we're.
Now, will you juggle as you ride?
Oh, heck yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
As we end Oh Holy Night.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, the volume of the kids' choir, is that giving a secret away?
The kids' choir. Oh, well, I mean, we weren't saying that, but.
Oh, yeah, it was really impressive.
They're good. The other thing.
It was particularly impressive.
The other thing that's really cool is we have some incredibly talented musicians that are playing with us.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, the team all together, back when we get in there on Saturday, I want to address everybody. I'm in awe, man, that just to be a part of a team like that God's brought together. It's
very special.
It's moving. It really. I was sitting there during rehearsal when you had me down there, or when I was down there by the booth and you moved me away. I was just sitting there crying and sobbing and everything.
You crying?
So I wanted to be
You
in
never
private.
cry.
And he tells me, "Don't sit here. Sit."
I'm sorry. I was trying to get him in a better seat where the sound was a little bit better.
It's very moving. Yeah, on a lot of different levels for me.
This song, my favorite song, is the song "Right Before You Speak." Which I won't give away what it is, but the one with the harp, and it's very powerful, very powerful.
Yes, it is.
There's a line in it that the author wrote. Said it's the story of Mary is what it is. And she says
it was Cheryl's catch.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Cheryl.
The only thing I have to offer in my life, I have nothing. The only thing I have to offer is a vacancy.
Oh.
Stop with this.
Ooh.
Really good.
And the girl that sings it doesn't do badly either.
She's all right. I've been working with her. I think she'll turn the corner at some point. She's given me.
Now, although, I'm not one for picking favorites. My favorite song, and the one that I'm most excited about and have been excited for months, ever since stumbling blindly across it, is the one that you sing. And you do a tremendous job, man.
Let him finish.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pastor Randy gave me a hug and said that he was proud of me. And in that moment, I could have died a happy man. Just right there in the sound booth, tears streaming down my cheek.
And the thing was, last night, you were really so distracted
I was all over
trying
the
to
place.
correct things, and you weren't really didn't want to abuse your voice, I know, with that song. So I look forward to seeing you full on. But
Very
it was
kind.
great.
Thanks, boss. Well, we should answer some questions.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get to all of them, but we'll just do what we can.
Seems unlikely.
Yeah.
And then I have a hard stop at 1 o'clock that I have to leave for.
Okay.
I have a meeting. And then we also want to mention Christmas Eve services, 2 and 4, we've said already. Christmas Day service, 1 service, in person, not. Only online. In person, not. It was like some Yoda speak.
Yeah.
1 service, online, 11:15. It'll broadcast for the entire day. You can watch it whenever you'd like. Our plan is open presents, eat breakfast, gather as a family, invite you to do the same thing, 11:15 service, and then New Year's Day is also a Sunday, 1 person, 1 service in person, 11:15.
He's tired.
I'm tired.
He needs some sleep.
I need some sleep. I watched all of the 3.5-hour practice last night before going to bed.
Wow.
So, which was fantastic on the radio. Pastor Randy was there, because I think I would have been a potential disaster at that point.
Well,
you, of course, were fantastic.
I'll be honest. There was one time in particular where I started praying for you, because I could tell you were reaching the limits of your patience.
Oh, last night?
Yeah. And I thought, oh, boy.
That's during practice. There is actually one member of the team that is what this gentleman does. He prays for me the entire practice, and then sends me a message after practice. Want to let you know when this happened, I was praying for you. It's really cool. And there's somebody that's been like that in your life at FCF.
Oh yeah, Mary Lou Coy.
Yeah.
In fact, I owe her a note right now about the next series. She always contacts me. What do you want me to pray? What direction for the next series message? She's done this for almost,
Over 20
25,
years.
26 years probably.
Blessing. All right, questions. But that's our service schedule. It's also on the homepage of the website. It looks something like this. So when it says, I'm not sure where services are, it's all written right there. All of that information. It will come more articulately than I just made it a second ago. Pastor Kim, why don't you fire for us?
All right. I love asking questions that deal directly with the message that just occurred. So on Sunday, you talked about God being vulnerable. So someone says that they discussed this in their men's group last night, and the guy got stuck. If God is vulnerable, can he get hurt or defeated by Satan?
He absolutely can and does get hurt. He's illustrated that throughout history. Yeah. Way back in Genesis, when the earth was covered with violence, it says God was grieved in his heart to be made man on the earth. Later on in Israel's history, in Ezekiel, he talks about your I'm not trying to be crude, he says your whorish heart has broken my heart. So, and then of course the greatest illustration is Jesus was a man of sorrows and well acquainted with grief. And then he goes to the cross, which is this visible, physical expression that he's God. It's God incarnate, Jesus taking in pain. And what I said in the message is that if we love anything, we are vulnerable to being hurt. You can't love anything without making yourself vulnerable to being hurt. And so here's where we have to distinguish things. So God is not this emotionally detached individual that we sometimes depict or picture him at. He's very, what I said was he's the most sensitive person in the universe, therefore he is the most vulnerable in way. Now he doesn't let the pain that he experiences govern his reactions. Okay, he always responds with perfectly balanced love and does what is for the highest well-being and good of all considered. So his plan cannot be thwarted, but not in the way that people think. People tend to think that his plan can't be thwarted because he's just so powerful that ultimately he can just do whatever he wants to do any way he wants to do it. But that's not the way that he does things. Just because I can do something doesn't mean that I will do something. So I might have the power to do something, but it might bring the wrong result. In other words, God could use his power and through sheer force make us do his will, okay? He could use fear, terror, and perhaps get us to conform to do his will. But that's not satisfactory to us, nor him, nor will it bring authentic development in us. So God's plan is going to be successful in spite of rebellious wills of angels and humans, because love, here's the key to this thing. Love is actually more powerful than evil. It cannot lose. The sacrificial death of Christ on the cross was the winning move. It's the move that allows God to penetrate through the barriers of satanic slander of God's character, our barriers of fear and guilt and shame, and now we have this openness, this fearlessness to authentically come close to God again, because even though he's the most almighty, he's the safest and he's the most loving, and so his plan will not be thwarted. His will be done. He has foreseen all this, but it's not from brute force. It is this combination of his power, but the power always governed by his sacrificial love. That's why in the book of Revelation 5 we referred to last week, you see the line, nobody's worthy to open the scrolls that are going to bring the deconstruction of systemic evil on the planet Earth. Who can handle this kind of power? Who won't be clumsy? Who won't be vengeful, spiteful? Nobody's found worthy. And so then the lion, well, that's the power of God. So you expect to see this picture of strength and might, but what do you see? You see a lamb. And the rest of the book of Revelation, it's the lamb that everybody's screaming is worthy to rule and reign, and because we can trust him with power. He has the gentlest of hands. He is vulnerable. He does care. We do matter to him. So that's what I meant by vulnerable. It's not vulnerable in the idea that Satan could stop his plan, because love is just stronger than evil. It's just reality. Evil has a very short shelf life. It self-destructs. It exposes itself. The cross was a great exposure of the hideousness of evil and the beauty of God's goodness. So this is what I meant by vulnerability. It's a relational, emotional vulnerability. It is not a vulnerability that his plan could be thwarted by humans or angels or Satan himself.
You're speaking to evil, how evil implodes on itself. And that is, even for somebody that professes to live a certain life that's different than the way that God has told us to live, you can watch that individual's life. And if you watch it for long, even if they have fun, they do everything that they think is going to give them pleasure, for a season, Scripture says, that's but right. You literally, in time, if you take enough laps around the sun,
yes, indeed, man.
Enough laps around the sun, you see
72 laps.
72 laps. You got it for 50 yards. 50 yards.
50 yards, I still got a burst.
Still
got a gear or two, man.
And then similar to me, who is more an obesity issue than it is an age issue, around the middle of that sidewalk.
You're a good athlete, man. I know you could go.
His legs feel heavy. But if you watch someone's life long enough that is professed to live differently than Christ, and you see this at the close of their life too, where they look at everything and they go, man, I was wrong.
Yeah, what has it all been about? Because what they find is that no matter how much they accumulate, no matter how much they experience, it frankly is not enough. No. We were made for so much more. We can't have that so much more, though, apart from union with our Creator Christ. And often, like you say, tragically, people go their entire life, and at the very end, they realize, I missed it. I could have, but I missed. I could have had all that God intended me to have, but I missed it. I was too disinterested or too distracted, or any number of things.
I actually have a close friend who he's brilliant. God has blessed him in a lot of ways, both mentally and as a result of his intellect. God has blessed him financially, and levels that probably in the occupation that we've chosen we will not experience. And he was always very blessed, but kind of a new level. He sold a couple of companies and did really, really well. And we had kind of separated for a while, hadn't seen each other for a while, and then several years later kind of reconnected. And he was just sharing after one of the sales of a company that he had made, the blessing that God gave him, which of course he's faithful to give back and all of that. He said, Pete, it doesn't really change anything. He said he was actually struggling with the loss of his father, and all of this that God had done, all of this material things that a lot of people work their whole life to achieve, and you achieve it, and he's a younger guy, and he goes, it really doesn't matter. Like, it really doesn't matter. So I don't know. I feel bad for people that work their whole life to get to that point, and then at the end, at times, one of the most challenging yet clairvoyant parts of being a pastor is being with someone at the close of their life and realizing and reflecting, and nobody's just like, you know what, man, I just wish
we could have just added a little bit more to that savings account.
Yeah, really wish I had. No, I wish I had done. I wish my family. I wish I. Do you think is God mad at me? Like, I want to spend, and you get to these points that they realize, but for many people they've wasted.
Some of the stuff that we were familiar with what Jesus said, we haven't thought through it sufficiently. Like when he says, "What does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul?" And of course, he's also saying, if you pursue the whole world, you might get it, but you're going to lose your soul in the process. But even if you get it,
I see what you did. Very, very smart.
But even if you get it, you're going to find it's not enough.
No.
We humans are easy to please in the short term, but we are very difficult to satisfy because we have eternal longings. And so, you could be anybody. You could be Bill Gates, you could be Elon Musk, you could have your pick of experiences and wealth and all like that. But it's not enough, and you don't live long enough, and this world is turbulent. So even the short periods that you can enjoy things, they don't last long enough. They're not perfect enough because we were made for a different kind of world, a world that only the will of God can bring.
So you could work and make, hypothetically, $500 million and go, oh, this is great, I can buy an island and move somewhere. But it's all to what end?
Exactly, man. It's not enough. We have extravagant longings because we have this faint echo in our spiritual memory of the kind of paradisical existence God intended us to have, and it haunts us.
And Christmas kind of gives a picture of that in times where people pause on all of the hate. That'd be a good.
It does.
There was an
incident from history.
I heard you're going to want to join us for the Christmas Day online service. That was really good. That's a really good insight.
I just want to say that was just all one question, and we're probably not going to.
Saying is we took too much time.
We're probably not going to get to too many.
Well,
questions.
neither of us talk very much. It's your fault. You won't let us get a word in.
You just keep going on and on. Tim.
See, we got warmed up early with the radio show, so we're rolling.
And he's running on that hyper energy because he hasn't slept.
How about I ask another question?
They got room for two more, probably.
So, this would completely change. This is what are your thoughts on the current state of the Euphrates River and its place in the return of Christ? Which I've never heard a connection.
It is fascinating. No.
Can I go ahead and read this?
Yes.
Would an interpretation of the river drying up leading to a war with Turkey and Syria be a possible tipping point?
It certainly could trigger a war. Okay, well, what's happening? There's two things. There's I'm going to use a word that I know it's a word that's used frequently today with a lot of
Nephilim
feelings, and ideology behind it. But because of climate change, understand what I mean when I say climate change. We've always had climate change. There was an ice age. There was a flood. You can dig under the ice in Antarctica and you find tropical plants. There's obviously been climate change throughout human history. But because of climate change, that is occurring to some degree now, and because of 7 dams that are on the Euphrates River, I think Turkey's got 4 and Syria's got 3.
Yeah.
They are literally putting the people in Iraq in poverty and depriving them of water. But this is phenomenal. If you see overheads of what the Euphrates was and what the Euphrates is, it's shocking. And huge portions of it are nothing but dry bed now. There's no water at all. This is interesting because Revelation 7, one of the 6th trumpet judgment, and then the 6th bowl judgment, they both deal with the Euphrates, and one of which is the Euphrates is dried up to make way for the kings of the east, and they come with this army that is 200 million soldiers. And they end up destroying 1/3 of what's left of the world's population. 1/4 of the world's population is killed in the seals, the 4th seal. And now you've got to take 1/3 of what's left, and it ends up being, if you take all those calculations together, in the tribulation period of a very short time, about half the world's population is killed from either war or plague or disease or poverty, famine, those kinds of things. So the fact now here's the point I was trying to get to. The fact that the Euphrates is actually drying up, it is undeniable. This is shocking. The Euphrates and the Tigris, two of the biggest rivers in the world, the Nile and the Amazon and the Euphrates Tiger. The fact that it's actually drying up simultaneous with all the other signs that the prophecy gives us, all the other fulfillments, national setup and technological things, and we could go on forever about it, that makes it significant. It's shocking. When you go online and look at it, you'll be shocked. Plus, they found something freakish. Now, I'm not saying you can build doctrine on this. The Euphrates has gone down so low that they found these tunnels that were submerged, who knows, for thousands of years perhaps. But these tunnels have steps that go down, and they lead to what looks to be something that's being kept. Well, it talks about 4 angels that have been kept imprisoned under the Euphrates River, that they will be released at a time when it's dried, and they will be the instigators of bringing these armies across the Euphrates on dry ground. So I'm not saying those tunnels are the ones that lead to these 4 angels, and however, I don't know how you incarcerate
Do they look
an angel.
human-made, or are they saying that they're created by...
They're definitely human-made. Yeah, human-made. So, well, let me rephrase that.
Right.
Nephilim and angels.
I was trying to come up with a word for it. They're not a naturally occurring... natural occurrence.
They're definitely a
Through
construction because
geology.
they have steps.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's and you can't say for sure that that's what they are leading to, but it's really interesting,
Very interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I knew about the Euphrates drying up. I hadn't. Where'd they find the tunnels? Where are they?
You'd have to go online. You can actually see pictures of them.
Check that out.
Yeah. If you just put in Euphrates River drying up, it'll lead you to a site or two that'll show you the pictures, and it's all like in Arabic, but it's fascinating.
I love it. You fire one more, Pastor Kim.
All right. When will the temple in Israel be rebuilt? And this person says, with you talking about recently, he may know of some non-public information that indicates the temple will be rebuilt and the temple will appear between 2023 and 2033.
Yeah, I don't know of anything that's not being published. This is open for anyone. It is an interesting occurrence. Okay, so in Numbers 19, chapter 19, verse 2, in order to cleanse defilement since the temple's been defiled by the pagan Romans when they came in, it has to be cleansed, and the priesthood and the utensils and all these things have to be cleansed with the ashes of a red heifer. The red heifer's got to be essentially perfect, without blemish, all red. Well, they've tried to raise these things, and it always happens the same. It does good for a year or so, and then a blemish forms. They now have 2. They were sent from America, and they, if I'm understanding correctly, they're already past the 2-year period, which means they could be used right now. That's the first time in my understanding that has ever existed in history, simultaneous with all these other occurrences, prophetic occurrences. And then you have these 2 groups that I urge people to look up online, the Temple Mount Faithful and the Temple Mount Institute. They're 2 different organizations in Israel. They are training priests to do sacrifices. You can even find some videos where they're practicing this. They have built the various pieces of furnishings that need to go in the temple. They built the priestly gowns and all this stuff. So these people have blueprints, a blueprint for a temple. They even estimated they could put the temple up in a year and a half if they were given the green light. Now, of course, it's on the Dome of the Rock, or in the place where the Dome of the Rock is second most or third most holy place in Islam. So that's problematic. But a series of wars could change that quickly, or other phenomena, a massive earthquake or something, or a peace treaty. There's a lot of things that can occur, because right now Saudi Arabia and some of the other Arab nations are moving very close to Israel because they're so afraid of Iran.
Right.
And so you could see some strange compromises being made. There's actually some theorized room enough you could put a temple up without disturbing the Dome of the Rock and the Dome of the Spirits that's up there on the Temple Mount. Who knows how it's going to happen, but the point is, for the first time in human history, there are people that are very serious about this, and it could happen quickly. But I don't have any inside information at all.
But these are places, Temple Mount Faithful.
Go to those sites and you'll be shocked. You'll hear Jews talking like Christians about they believe that they must rebuild the temple to bring the Messiah the first time. Of course, we know it's the Messiah the second time. But when you hear the way they're thinking and talking, they're thinking like Christians. They're looking at these ancient prophecies, and they recognize they're being fulfilled, and they're trying to figure out what is our role.
Right.
in those.
What are we supposed to do? Was you sent me that article about the heifers? Was that in Temple Mount Faithful, or?
You know, I don't know, but if you just look up red heifers online, it'll send you to the site. They'll show you pictures of the actual
Picture me
red
with a wig
heifers.
on.
And I can't remember. I think it was a farmer in either Texas or Missouri, somewhere like that has been trying. Here again, a Christian is trying to.
What are we supposed to do? What's our
prophecies?
What's our role in it? And it really is wild when you look at how that stuff plays out. That some interpret it differently and say this is what that means, and so I have to do this to bring that about.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely a cooperative element in prophecies to a degree.
All right, it's 1:00. You guys can keep going.
Well, I mean, I think that would be odd, but we could.
Well, then we're going to save them. You're not going to want to miss. I'm going to say this as strongly as I can. I feel weird saying it, though. This service, the second and the fourth, has the potential to be my favorite Christmas service that I've been a part of facilitating. A part of in any way, whether facilitator or not. I think the musicianship, the song selection, the way it's going to tie into Pastor Randy's message, I think you're going to really enjoy it. Has nothing to do with me. Has a lot to do.
Second and fourth. Did you mean 2 and 4?
2 and 4. What did I say?
You said second and the fourth. You are so tired.
You need some sleep,
some sleep.
Join us 2 and 4, but don't show up at 2:00.
No.
Show up at 1:30 or 3:30. That'll give you time to get in the parking lot. We will have attendants that are getting you rotated and parked in the right locations. Especially that second service. It's going to be some transition.
In between services.
Did you want to mention anything about the radio broadcast, or will that automatically be on there since we did that little thing earlier today?
Yes, we mentioned it earlier. It was 7 a.m. on Christmas Eve. It'll be on WFMD and WFRE, and then it was, I don't remember what time he said on Christmas Day. I know one time was 10:30 p.m. at night at the end of Christmas as the day's winding up. There's one earlier too, but it was. We had a list of questions.
I bet. Did you get through them all?
I think we touched on one question on the list, and the rest of it was just very casual conversation.
Well, that was surprising because you had that list.
I had a list of questions,
and then it was just kind of like he was just kind of making them up on the fly.
He was.
Okay.
I think he felt comfortable. He was enjoying the pleasure of our company, and so
and he was very enjoyable to work with too.
He was a great guy. He said he really liked FCF Church.
He did.
He did.
Yeah, that's cool.
So.
Hey, no, we're not going to be here next week, right?
No, not next week.
Join us. We'll resume Q&A on January the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, January 5th.
Yeah, and we also, while we're now seeing, we have a Bible Institute coming up, I believe
January
it's on the 17th. Is that right?
I thought it was the 24th.
It's a Tuesday. Maybe it is. No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. It's later. The 24th. It's on a Tuesday. We'll be talking about it, but
grace.
It's about grace. Don't assume that you know everything there is to know about grace. There's lots of facets that I think you'll find interesting, even if you've been a follower of Christ for a long, long time. Cool.
I've never heard somebody say, I went to that Bible Institute, and I've always thought about it that way. I didn't learn anything. Said no one ever.
No.
Plan to be a part of that. We have a ton of questions coming. There's more questions coming in. I'm sorry, Miss Liz. I promise we'll get to all the questions. There was 3 more before I closed my laptop. But I got some stuff I got to do. So, love you guys. We will see you 2 and 4. Come early, 1:30, 3:30. It's going to be an awesome time, right, Pastor Kim?
Yes.
You're kind of like it.
Yeah, I've seen the rehearsal, and I'm telling you, it's exciting.
It's going to be a great time. See you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.